Hey boys and girls! Today's episode is a special episode where the doctor answers your questions. My name is James and I'm the intern around here. So I'm being asked to read the questions for the doc. So let's check out what questions you may have about these wonderful capacitors. Welcome back. Let's see what the first question might be. Dear Dr. Capacitor, I really like your show and would love to meet you sometime. The doctor loves to meet his fans. Trust me, he loves to meet his fans. A great place to meet him is at the APEC conference in March every year. Nichicon normally has a booth, and if you don't see him there, just ask someone standing around waving at you. Okay, now back to the letter. In episode 5, you explained what's in a capacitor, but not how they were made. Can you explain to me how the leads are attached to the foil?
Thank you for reading the mail for me, James. That is a great question. Nichicon has two ways to connect the leads to the foil of our electrolytic capacitor. One is called stitching and the other is cold weld. I know what you're thinking. Stitching? Are they sewing them together like with a needle and thread? No. Stitching is a process where the leads are connected to the foil by piercing the lead and the foil at the same time. Kind of like a stapler. The lead tab is laid on the foil and a needle pokes through both the foil and the lead. The lead tab material is then folded back onto the foil. Stitching is used on our leaded and surface mount parts. Cold welds are used on our large can electrolytics, and connections are made by pressing the leads onto the surface of the foils. So James, what's next?
Okay, the next one is on an email. Keep in mind, you can always send the doctor a question by emailing him at DoctorCapacitor@nichicon-us.com. Hey Doc, this guy's name is Omar and he's from Omaha. That's kind of funny. Omar from Omaha, Omaha.
James, what is his question?
Oh, sorry. He's asking what electrolytes we use in our aluminum capacitors.
Well, Omar from Omaha, that is a tricky question. You see, Nichicon's electrolyte mixes are very secret, and each type of capacitor has a different type of electrolyte mix. But what I can say is that all of the electrolyte combinations use one of two solvents. The first is normally used in our 85-degree parts. It's known as ethylene glycol. Our higher temperature parts, 105 degrees and over, use gamma butyrolactone, or GBL for short. We start with one of these two solvents and add other chemicals to get the desired characteristics. Chemicals like adipic acid, ammonium borate, or boric acid. Aren't you impressed I can pronounce all those terms? I went to college to learn how to say them.
Thanks, Doctor. That is quite interesting. Our next email is from Hans, and he is from Frankfurt. He says, my name is Hans and I am from Frankfurt. My English is very good because I'm from Frankfurt, Michigan. Oh, I understand. In episode 2, you define leakage current. Can you please explain this a little more? And why is it important in my circuit?
Well, leakage current is important in some applications. Leakage current is mainly used in circuits where the switching needs to occur at very precise time intervals. The higher the leakage current, the longer the time interval. Here's a tip. Leakage is not a constant. It changes with time, applied voltage, and temperature. Basically, the leakage current will decrease the longer voltage is applied to the capacitor. Low leakage capacitors allow things like electronic cooking timers to operate accurately, meaning these little joules help the timers stay in time. Higher leakage parts will cause the time interval to stretch out, and the timer will run longer than it's supposed to run. Like burning your fries. Pretty cool, huh?
So if the correct capacitor isn't used, my french fries get burned to a crisp?
That's right, James. Well, I believe we have time for maybe one or two more questions. What's next?
We have some more snail mail. I didn't know that was still a thing. Anyway, this person's mail says, "Hi, Dr. Capacitor. I love your show, and you're cute." Wait a second. She thinks the doctor is cute? Let me check that again. "Hey, Dr. Capacitor. You are cute." Well, there's no accounting for some people's taste. Her question is, how is the G rating determined in vibration testing? G. What a great question. Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
James, that was terrible. Maybe you better let me do the jokes from now on. The G in the vibration spec actually refers to the acceleration that causes weight. Some electronic modules will experience high vibration, or may be placed where vibration is very high. Transportation applications are a great example. If the part is not designed to withstand these conditions, it might get bounced off the PC board. That's not a good thing. 5 Gs means the acceleration of the part would give the perception the capacitor is 5 times heavier than it actually is. Nichicon now has a leaded part series that can withstand 40 Gs of vibration. The UXY series.
Doc, did you know that Nichicon can also put high vibration bases on many SMD parts?
Yes, James, I did. What's next?
This person is asking, what is the difference between a polarized and a non-polarized capacitor?
Well, this one is right down my alley. You see, I live on a one-way street, and that is kind of like the way a polarized capacitor works. Polarized capacitors are made with foils that allow current to flow in only one direction, like a one-way street. Non-polar or bipolar capacitors allow the current to flow easily no matter which way they are put on the PC board. You know, like a two-way street. But non-polar capacitors cannot be used in AC applications. After all, they are still DC capacitors. The great thing about non-polar or bipolar caps is that they can be placed either way in the circuit and they still work perfectly. Most of the aluminum electrolytics that Nichicon sells are polarized, but we do have a few series that are non-polar. What's next, James?
Well, it looks like we're getting to the bottom of the mailbag. Just one more. This one doesn't have a name or a place. Oh well. Now this is interesting. Dear Dr. Capacitor, why can't I use a regular capacitor in my audio project? What are the advantages of audio caps? Well, I can see why they are anonymous. They got 2 questions in. Doctor, what can you tell this anonymous person?
James, regular capacitors can distort the audio signal. Nichicon's line of audio capacitors has been developed with materials that do not distort the audio signal when passing through them. For example, standard parts have lead wires with steel cores. Audio capacitors do not contain steel in their wires. This helps give a more pure sound. Do you have to use audio capacitors in your audio devices? We who like outstanding audio say, oh yeah.
If you have any more questions about capacitors, please contact the doctor at DoctorCapacitor at Nichicon-US.com. The doctor will be back next time with another video about capacitors.
Until then, remember the name, Dr. Capacitor.